Hello guys and welcome to WENB podcast 147. We are back again, another podcast within like a few days. I'm your host Gary and today I am joined by Nico.
Hey guys.
How's it going, mate?
Not too bad, thank you very much. Yourself?
All good, mate, all good. And we are also joined by Mr. Ben Ward. How's it going?
I'm pretty good, mate. Yeah, it's I think it's actually the first time I've been on the WENB podcast.
Really?
So I've been it's a really weird one because I've been a long time listener since like day one, I think, and then now I'm obviously part of the team. It's a bit weird.
Nice. So before we get into sort of the gameplay impressions from you guys, it is still PES 2018 World Tour. So it started at the new camp in Barcelona on the 21st of June, and then on the 23rd of June, it was in Liverpool at Anfield. So Ben, just want your thoughts on how the day went. Obviously, you as our representative at Anfield. Just share your thoughts of how the day went, really.
It was a really good day. I think myself and Matt from NGB went over. We left sunny Lincoln at silly o'clock in the morning and got to Anfield just about just a couple of minutes after it had started. At which point there was already a ton of community folks all over the consoles and the PCs. There was a bunch of PS4 Pros set up. I think probably had about 15 or so stations set up.
Okay.
And yeah, it was just all of them playing PES 2018, all set up and available for capture. We could do what we needed to, and there was 2 stations had the PC version running, and the rest were all running PS4 Pros. Had a bit of a chat with Adam Batty, and Graham and Steve at Konami, and basically had a really good day. There was a bit of a presentation about PES 2018, and then we had some lunch, and then we carried on playing PES. And then we came home, so it was a full-on day. I was so engrossed in PES that I actually missed the stadium tour that we were sort of ready to go on, which I was a bit gutted about. But
amazing.
It was
It's alright. It's only Anfield.
I mean, it was a really good day, and to be honest, I'm a lowly Lincoln City fan, so it's very rare that I get a chance to go out to big grounds and enjoy the day like I did. So yeah, it was well worth it.
Don't put yourself down, mate. Don't put yourself down. They've done well this season, so
absolutely.
So yeah, that sounds like a very good day if you're into PES, which you are. So before we sort of jump into gameplay, I just want to sort of get both of your sort of thoughts and feelings on where PES is at the moment. How are you in terms of where you play in PES 2017 a lot? Are you still playing it every so often, or do you just not bother at all? So yeah, Nico, I'll start with you, mate. What's your sort of feelings at the moment with regards to PES?
I actually was just playing it before we jumped on.
Okay. I
think having a taste of 2018 has sort of got me back into the mood a little bit. I would say, I played the new game, I can't go back to the old one. I still don't think 2017 is a bad game. It's just different. So I'm able to continue playing it and enjoying it. And yeah, I've been playing it a bit more recently, sort of reviving the Master League I was doing, which I never really sort of got fully into earlier in the year. But yeah, like I said, I still think 2017 is a very good game. And people say, 2018 looks similar. It's because there are some similarities, because we're not redefining what PES is. It's an evolution. It's an evolution as opposed to a revolution of the game. And I won't go into too much about what the new game has done, but I think that PES 2017 as a standalone game is still very good. So I'm enjoying playing it again.
Yeah, I totally get what you're saying there. So yeah, I'm pretty much sort of in the sort of similar sort of mindset as you, to be honest. So Ben, yourself?
Yeah, I mean, I have my brief sort of PES history. Like I was a massive PES fan on the PS2, and then sort of started following WENB at its inception, and kind of followed that through from the disaster that was 2008 on the PS3, and followed PES all the way through, and it's been nice to watch it kind of come back and have that resurgence over the past few years, where I think a lot of people are starting to realise now that I think when PES had the slump that it did a few years ago, or a number of years ago now, it's now sort of almost seeming like FIFA's getting into that slump where there's not a huge amount of innovation, and there's not, there isn't a great deal of new ideas apart from obviously the journey, which was fantastic, but that in terms of the gameplay and stuff, it seems to be almost stagnating, and that's where PES is really moving on, and it's pulling me back. I mean, in terms of 2017, I played the hell out of it at launch, and it's always the same with PES. It's kind of a comfort food game or a palate cleanser. I'll get to obviously with NGB, like we basically try and play everything we can. So it's difficult to dedicate a huge amount of time to one game. But sometimes if you've just finished like a 80-hour RPG, you think I'll just fancy a bit of PES just to wipe the slate clean and just get ready for the next game that I'm going into, and it's always been that game, but I've thoroughly enjoyed 2017.
I think that's a really good point. That's a really, really good point. I think that might be why I'm sort of getting back into it now, because I kind of don't have anything to play at the moment. And like I'm waiting for certain games, waiting for the next PES, I'm waiting for Destiny 2, and sort of in between, it feels like a very good game to come back to.
And it's
totally.
Yeah, it's just one of those games that it's kind of, it's always going to be there. It's almost like coming home to going home and getting a nice home cooked meal, knowing full well that you're going to go home. It's going to be there. It's going to be the game that you remember it being, and it's with it improving as it has done. It's just been great. But yeah, I'm not going to lie. After playing it for about 4 hours, it has been a little bit difficult to come back to it after Friday.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I totally get that. So let's get into both of your sort of thoughts and feelings on PES 2018. Now, obviously, Nico, you played it with me at Konami on Monday the 19th, I believe.
I think so.
Was it Monday or Friday? I can't.
It was Monday.
Yeah,
it was a Monday. Yeah, so Monday the 19th. And obviously, Ben, you've been playing it at Anfield for the PES 2018 World Tour. So I'll start with Nico. Nico, your thoughts in general, and then we can go into like certain parts of it as we go.
I'll start off with the obvious. Multiplayer is just crazy fun. And I think PES has always kind of retained that. Multiplayer has always been so much fun to play. 1v1 against somebody else in a room against a friend. Where I really, and as you know, like I was sort of pushing for us to play a few more games against the AI, because that's where obviously the difference is going to come in. And it felt good, and I'm trying to understate it a little bit, because I do know that there is the possibility of this just feeling new to us, and having that bit of euphoria around playing something new and seeing new animations and new shot types. It's I'm reserving a little bit of praise for when we get a demo or when we get the final build. But from everything that we did play, it was fantastic. Really thoroughly enjoyed it. I didn't get beat down like you did. I did. I think I managed to beat them 1-0, but it was very tough. Yeah. Like, in the same way that they were very, pressing on you extremely toughly. And the Dortmund defense is very weak. It was super difficult against the Atletico side. But I think if you can generally stay calm, play football, pass, and not let the pressure get to you, it didn't feel like, so with the PES that I've been playing recently, sometimes it feels like the game is against you.
Yeah.
And it didn't feel like that at all, even though I felt like I was in a position with a team that was tailor-made to be ripped apart by Atletico Madrid. So yeah, I felt, I won't go into too many specifics. I know it's just a general question, but I thought that overall the game was looking really, really good. And I think they don't need to change much.
Yeah. And also, regarding sort of, you were talking about AI, it sounds like they're improving the difficulty against the AI as well, which is a good sign. Because we don't want it to, like, PES 2017 wasn't bad, but it definitely had its sort of shortcomings with regards to playing against the AI. But it sounds like they're doing a lot of work from now to release regarding the AI difficulty and stuff like that. So that's definitely a good thing. So Ben, yeah, your sort of general thoughts on PES 2018 and what you played.
Yeah, I mean, the first thing that we noticed, there was, as I say, myself and Matt went down. Matt's probably a bit more of a casual PES fan than me, and then even I've fallen off it as well, in the same way that I have done with a few other things. But like, neither of us are what we'd probably say is a hardcore PES fans anymore.
Yeah.
And going back to being able to play like a new PES, like having compared it to 2017 and, having been through the disappointment of the previous ones, the first thing that we did was when we kicked off and, after about 30 seconds of gameplay, we just turned to each other and went, this feels really different. Like, it didn't, it wasn't in a bad way by any means. It was a very, very good thing. But it did feel a lot more measured. Like you can't get away with playing in like tiny you can get away with playing in like small triangles and stuff. But if you try and spread that a little bit further with just by tapping X as the ball comes to you, like if you just literally tap it, it won't ping across to the next guy. Like you can't play that sort of ping pong.
Yeah.
Passing football that you've always been able to do with 2017 and a few games before, and I think that's a good thing because it does invite that more sort of measured and calmer pace to the game where you sit there and go, right, okay, what am I doing here? Okay, right, so I can see, right, Iniesta's free, right, I'll make the ball to Iniesta, and then he gets it, and he's got a couple of seconds to figure out where he's going with it, and then you can build up the play a lot more easily.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think one of the key things for me was that even though you can do that a lot more easily, if you make a mistake, you're immediately punished. Like, you are, particularly on Superstar, because there was the two difficulties we had available to us were Superstar and regular. So
same as us, I think.
Yeah. So basically you didn't have too many options in terms of like the grading of the difficulties, but if you make a mistake either against a decent half decent player or against the AI, the chances are that you're gonna regret that mistake. So overall I really, really enjoyed it. I think it's they've made some very good improvements, and some of like the subtle animations and stuff were just incredible. Like
you can see that they've added a lot in.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I always get the name of this wrong. Was it Real Touch last year that they brought in?
Yeah.
Yeah, so they've sort of advanced that a little bit further now, and it doesn't really matter too much which way the ball comes in. It's all dynamic as to where the first touch is. So, like if the ball's coming at you from the wrong side, your players will dynamically adjust their body to make the best first touch that they can. And if they're good enough, they'll get away with it. But a lot of the time, if you're playing as Henderson, for example, if you're playing as Liverpool and like the ball comes through to Henderson at pace, if it's not in the right way, if it's not in the right direction, he will struggle with it at times, and it'll be spilled or it'll be pinging off to somebody else. And they've done a lot this year, and I think it's obvious that this game's been in development for a long time. Because I think, did they say it's been in development for about 3 years?
Yeah.
So,
it's part of a 3-year cycle.
Yeah. It's totally evident because they've done so much to it, and it's great.
Yeah, what I noticed straight away is obviously you've got a lot more freedom than last year. It don't feel on rails.
Yeah, absolutely.
And when I started playing it, I was trying to play like I was playing PES 2017, and straight away I realised that that's not a good thing. You sort of have to relearn the way you play it, which is a good thing, because we used to do that on the PS2 versions. Each year, they at first they might have seemed like slight sort of differences from the last year, but once you sort of got into the game a lot more, you realise that you actually have to learn things more, and I actually like that. So let's move on to a few sort of aspects. Talking about the sort of free motion of it, like to me it felt so good playing passes where you actually wanted them to go. Now there's pass error, which I really like. Even the AI I noticed do like passes which go astray or are too short, which is really cool. So yeah, what's your sort of thoughts and feelings on the way it sort of plays generally, as in terms of the sort of the free motion you have as such?
Yeah, I think you've got it spot on. The AI are prone to mistakes, but they aren't as well. I mean, obviously it will scale with the difficulty, but they're not overly common to the point where you feel like you're picking up loads of mistakes all the time. But at the same time, you're sat there going, okay, right, if this pass goes astray, I'm able to, I've intercepted it, right, and then you're off on a run. I just can't really think of other ways to say it other than it just feels really good.
Yeah.
Like the point you made there about picking your passes and like I said earlier, you can't ping those passes just by tapping the X button a little bit. You've got to actually build the power up, and you've got to make the pass properly.
And it all depends on who's in control as well.
Yes, absolutely.
Obviously they're passing, which is really cool.
Yeah.
So Nico, your sort of thoughts on how you felt about the way it sort of moved and the sort of space you have and the sort of motion.
Well, this is sort of where I come in. Like I probably have my strongest thoughts in this, and that the weight of the game felt incredible, and the pace of the game was perfect. Playing 2017 again recently, you kind of notice how quick it is. It's a very fast game, and it's been slowed down dramatically for 2018. And that makes a massive difference in a lot of different places. I think, kind of like what Ben was saying, you really do have to think about your passes, because the game doesn't kind of fly by anymore. It's very slow and measured. And that's the same for the passing. The passing is slow. You need to put more power on these passes now. And depending on who you're passing with as well, like the worst players are going to miss-hit a lot of passes if you don't think carefully about what you're doing. So I found... in my first few games, I was misplacing a lot because I wasn't really aware of how I should be passing. And then the more I played, the better it got. And when you use players who are very good at passing it felt easier, as it should do, because these players are better and have the skills and the techniques to be better passers than just an average player. So, I'm quite happy with how that worked, and the general movement of the game, the flow was just very nice, very well paced. That is something I don't want them to touch at all. I don't want them to change the pace or the weight.
Totally.
Those two things specifically, I don't want them to change it. It should stay as it is. I think that's the feedback that's been given, at least from ourselves. I'm not sure what the feedback procedure was at the Anfield event. But yeah, fingers crossed they leave that as it is.
Yeah, pacing is amazing. I think they've nailed it this year. I think last year, I've said it before on the podcast, that I felt that it was too fast and it felt like a basketball match, like end to end, and it sort of missed out the midfield a lot. But I think this year they've sort of nailed it in terms of pacing. So it sounds like you're both very, very happy with the way that sort of flows in the passing. One thing that I do disagree with this on, I've seen it on Twitter a lot, that through passes, through balls are overpowered. I don't personally believe that the case, because what I noticed when I was playing it was the fact that it all depends on the player. So if you've got a centre back trying a through ball, then I noticed it when I was playing. I tried a through ball with Batra, I think, for Dortmund, and it just went straight and it didn't really do anything. But then I tried a through ball later on with Coutinho, and it sort of had bend to it, and it was like a brilliantly weighted free pass. So yeah, I just wondered your sort of thoughts on it. Do you feel that they're overpowered, or did you like the way they were from the code we played? I'll start with Nico.
I completely agree with you, 100%. And I've mentioned this a few times myself. Didn't feel overpowered whatsoever. It really just depends on who you're using. You have to bear in mind that all the teams in the builds that we played are very good teams, and they're going to have very good passes in these teams, and they're going to do well. So I'm not surprised we saw some very good through balls, and I would feel like the game would be doing a disservice to the players who can hit them off. You don't want it to be a case of you make it so hard, only the top tier PES player can hit them. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's pointless. Football is a sport with various ranges of skill and technique, but you need to be able to allow the right players to do the right thing. Not give it to everyone, but also don't limit it to just the upper echelon like Messi and Ronaldo.
Yeah,
that would
totally.
be silly. So, I completely with you. I didn't feel like it was an issue at all. Didn't feel overpowered. Never sort of looked at any goals that were scored against me and thought, oh, God, another through ball, another over-the-top lofted ball. When is it going to stop? Was very happy with it.
Yep, nice. Ben, do you want to add anything to that, or do you feel the same? Or
I think I feel mostly the same on that, to be honest. There was only really a couple of instances where I got really annoyed at a through ball, and that was towards the end of a game when I hadn't made any substitutions, and you've got pacey strikers that will latch onto them and absolutely punish you if you've allowed them to, and that's as it should be. I think that's I think it's perfectly fine. That happened probably once or twice in the 9 or 10 games that I got to play, if not more. I think it's not a problem for me. And one of the cool things that I did find, as you said, was sometimes if you play a through ball, it just goes straight, doesn't go anywhere, and nothing happens. But I think it's actually on one of the videos that we've got up on YouTube where there was a through ball played from the left wing with the outside of the right boot, which just took such a beautiful curve, and I think it resulted in a goal. I can't remember off the top of my head, but yeah, like it feels good when you've got the right players that can do it. And again, it's going to be one of those ones where if you've got the players that have got the skills to pull that off, you're more than likely going to be okay. But it's not a guarantee.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Yep, totally agree. So one of the sort of new sort of features this year is the shielding. Obviously in FIFA, it's all done by a button press. This year in PES, it's all contextual. So it depending on how the player's sort of body positioning is, that's what sort of triggers it. Did you guys sort of notice it and feel it enough to sort of warrant sort of loving it, or did you find that it was a bit underused? Let's start with Ben. Ben, did you find it to be a great addition to PES, or?
It was one of those things where I don't think I noticed it that much at the time, but going back to 2017, I missed it. You could definitely tell, like I say, when the ball comes in, if you've got a player with the back to to the defender, they will sort of try and use their weight a bit more and push back and just try and prevent the ball from disappearing.
Yeah.
It to me it was as I said, it was more noticeable when it wasn't there.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Yeah. And Nico, did you like the way it moved and worked?
Yeah, no, absolutely, 100%. It felt very natural. It didn't feel like anything that shouldn't have been there. A very natural mechanic of the game. That, like I said, it's contextual, so that makes it very easy for people to come in and not have to try and learn a new button input in order to do that correctly. There's certain things that differentiates top tier PES players from maybe like mid tier players, and like certain things that they do with like the right stick, etc. But this is something that everyone can enjoy and take advantage of, and it, like I said, it feels natural, and yeah, you really do notice it when you go between the two. I tell you that for sure. And when we get the online beta as well, people will be able to see that for themselves.
Yeah, I totally agree. And obviously, like when we have the full game is where we're going to have a lot more players to use it with. Obviously, you can have a lot of big strikers that you can really take advantage of it with them. Obviously, it works brilliantly as well with like nimble players like Iniesta, the way they can spin, hold the ball up, spin, and then sort of get away from their player. So yeah, it's a great little addition. I really find that it's going to be a good sort of tactic to use with certain players. So the next sort of thing, I personally don't use this that much, but the right stick dribbling. Did you guys sort of check it out? All I will say is it felt a lot smoother because of obviously the new animations they've implemented. And it felt more responsive than 2017. So Ben, did you use right stick dribbling a lot?
Not really, mate. No, it's not something that it's not something that I tend to use. Mainly because when I try, I end up giving it away. all the time because I'm not skilled enough to use it. But it was something that I did see a few people using, and it looks, it just looks.
It works, right?
Yeah, it works. It doesn't look overpowered. It doesn't look like you're going to be able to abuse it. But those people that know how to do it will probably be, comfortable with it. Let's just say.
Yeah. And Nico, I know I noticed you was using it every so often during our time at Konami. How did you find it generally?
Yeah, to be honest with you, I thought it was great. It's one of those things I use it quite a lot. Because it helps a lot with changing direction, especially. I don't use the more advanced inputs, but I use the very basic ones of just flicking. And, you'll get a step over here or a turn there. And sometimes, it doesn't always go to plan, but generally I find it works very well.
Okay.
So that's just generally in 2017, but in 2020, I thought it was fantastic. Yeah, really enjoyed the animations of the new turns that come with it. Like Ben said, it didn't feel OP. I don't think it's something that can be abused, but it's something that really helps with general ball control and, like I said, changing directions and stuff like that. Like, that's where I find it really helps also create a natural looking game.
Yeah. Because I do find in FIFA that the right stick stuff's a bit too fluid, where you can, like, I've seen players on YouTube literally go around the whole team, and I think that's a bit unrealistic. In terms of the way PES does it, I think it's perfect. Obviously, it all depends on the sort of balance and your sort of footing. I don't use it a lot, but I personally think it was well done the way it was sort of implemented into what we played. So Ben, just quickly, the code you played, I take it was E3 code. It very much sounds like it was.
I believe it is. Yeah, I think it
is. Yeah,
I think Adam confirmed that on Twitter when someone was talking about it. It was either Adam or somebody else. But basically they were saying they didn't really have a huge amount of time in between E3 and the World Tour to kind of do any changes. So it was a case of just keeping it the same.
Yeah, okay. So moving on to crossing. Crossing is one that I feel is fine. It's okay, but personally I feel that it still needs more variation, if you will. It's very similar to last year. I think it obviously has been improved slightly, but I didn't see a massive change. I just wondered what your guys' thoughts on crossing. Did you use crossing a lot? Start with Ben.
Yeah, I got called a FIFA noob on some of the videos because of the amount I was crossing. But when you're playing against somebody that packs the midfield in the way that Matt does, I had to do it. Sure. So yeah, I enjoy it. I mean, I think I don't know. It's one of those ones where the community is always going to be split. Like you'll say, oh, they put too many crosses in, and it's not realistic, and there's too many headed goals. I don't think I actually scored a headed goal in the time I was playing. It was mainly like putting the cross in and then more often than not trying to go for the second ball. So yeah, I don't think there's too much of an issue with it. I personally don't think it's something that is overpowered. I think it's there for both people. So I think if you've got a decent enough midfielder that can slam across over the top, then you're probably going to be fine. But I don't think it's going to be one of those ones where everyone's getting too irate about it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, because PES 2017 had a big issue with crossing and scoring from crossing, and I personally didn't see that hardly at all. So they definitely tightened it up. Nico, you're not really a crossing type of guy, if I remember rightly. You're more sort of pass and move.
I tried to, yeah, but I think it really depends on who you're playing against and also who you're playing with.
Yeah.
If you've got a big target man, use them. I think people forget sometimes football is a game with lots of different, forms of strategy, and if you have the right, don't pump balls into the box if you're Barcelona. That makes no sense. You have players who can dribble and can work their way into the box with intricate passing. But if you're Arsenal, you've got Giroud up top, or another team with a big target man,
Play to your strengths, right?
100%. 100%. You know, that's just a general thing about football, and you know, people are going to translate that over into a football game because that's how they play. You know, so I didn't see it as an issue when I played against the AI at all. Again, you know, I wasn't playing against teams with big target men, so I'm glad to see them really come up. But you know, if Ben is, you know, crossing a lot into the box, that's because that's the strategy he's chosen to use.
Yes, totally.
It annoys me that people don't like to see crossing because you can defend it. If you're a good enough player, you can defend against it. You just need to take full control of your defender. You know, super cancel from the assigned the assigned movement that the game has given it. Super cancel from that. Position yourself in front of the striker and head the ball away. Yeah,
you adapt, right?
Yeah, 100%. I know it sounds like I'm making it sound really simple, but you can defend against it. It's not 100% balls into the box, 100% goals. You can defend against that. In terms of 2018, didn't see it as an issue. Like I said, I very rarely had any balls put into the box against me. I'd be interested to see, you know, playing against a Stoke or a team that do have a big target man, you know, a team that do play sort of Route 1 football. I'd be interested to see if that happens then. I would hope it does, because that is how they play and that's, you know, their strength. So we'll wait until we have a few more teams to test that out with. But generally, totally. I think, like you said, it didn't seem too different. I think it's more so the AI and their mentality on putting those balls in as opposed to the crossing itself. Crossing itself felt very similar.
Yeah, very good point. Very, very good point. So
just,
we have
just before you go on, there is a slight bit of breaking news. If we get a quick little jingle there, Asim's actually just tweeted saying that just wanted to say crosses and headed goals feedback has been taken on board with PES 2018. That said, it is not impossible to score via headers, which kind of goes to what I was saying in that I didn't, you know, I found it was nowhere near as easy to just knock it across and nod it in as it was in 2017 and previously. So.
That's good. That's good then. That's good news indeed. So this year we've got two new systems. We've got free kicks and we've got pens. So we'll start with free kicks. I really like these. They remind me of the PS2 free kicks, slightly sort of upgraded, if you will. Now you've got two views, one behind sort of player and one sort of up as on an angle. I literally hit the bar with one of my free kicks.
I remember that.
I find them really good. I think last year's was the weird line dot thing.
Yes,
I didn't like that at all. Yeah. The only thing I didn't really like was the fact that when you take the free kick, if you've got the angle from behind the player, when the ball gets to the line, it pretty much switches back to gameplay. Me and Brian sort of discussed this.
I remember you guys talking about in the last podcast.
And it's a bit weird. I think the transition's too quick. It sort of takes you out of the moment slightly. But generally, I think free kicks are really, really good. I just wondered if you guys might not have had many free kicks. I can't remember you, Nico, but Ben, I don't know how many you had. But Nico, starting with you, how did you find the free kick system this year?
I had a couple. Really, really like the free kick system. I think, like I said, it reminds you of PS2 days. Sorry. Where you basically set your general trajectory and then you use the analog stick to curl after you hit the ball. So it's kind of like a two-phase free kick as opposed to what we currently have, which is just you aim your arrow and you hope for the best. So like the power button is more for height, and then the curl will come in, but obviously power and height, and then the curl will come in afterwards, sort of invisible to the screen. But yeah, I agree with you. I'd love to see the angle stay the same. But my only thought on that was obviously if it's saved and the ball comes out, it's a very quick change back in camera angle. Yeah. Which would then go, and then I think it might be jarring to people if the keeper's made a save, it's fallen someone's feet, but the camera angle is just suddenly shifted.
I totally get what you're saying
in that sense, but. Yeah, but I'd like to see, you know, maybe if they were to play around with that and make some changes. I'd be interested to see how that would go. But yeah, free kicks, corners as well. I should mention corners are the same as free kicks now. You can set the curl after you hit the ball. Penalties. So I'll be completely honest. I didn't feel penalties were that different I've had a chat with Aston.
Oh, mate, no. Penalties are back to being scoreable.
Well, yeah. I did win a penalty shootout against Dave, which was fun, but he can score them, so he may disagree with you.
I sort of agree with both of you, to be honest. Like they are scoreable now, but I do feel they are still a little bit too similar to last year. Just like I personally didn't have a problem with the PS2 penalties. I thought they were fine, and they felt really tight, and it felt where you was aiming is where the ball was going. I still feel it's a little sort of loose in terms of, like, there was I don't know if it was against you, Nico, but it was against someone. I aimed like top left, and it went straight down the middle. I scored, but
that was against me.
Yeah. Apparently, I was told that I wasn't holding it long enough, but I was holding it for quite some time. If I thought I was anyway. So I think it's a mixture of the both, but I do like the penalty system. I just feel that it's still not quite as good as the sort of old system we had. So
I think there are going to be like a lot more animations added to the game, by the way, than like the time between now and release, and I think that will apply to penalties too, which will help it feel a little bit more fresh as well. But apparently, I mean, I spoke to Aston, and he's adamant it's a new system. I don't know, maybe I just need to play some more. And get a little bit more of a feel for it.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, probably that, to be honest. But so yeah, Ben, your sort of thoughts on pens? You sound like you really like them.
Yeah, I mean, we it was one of the first things that we sort of tried to do, to be honest. We actually got it will probably be up by the time this podcast goes out, but we've got a video of a penalty shootout that essentially just sort of details how it is. I don't remember this being the case last year, but if you hold, is it R1? You get like a little circle reticle.
Yeah. You had that last year as well.
Yeah.
I don't remember. Why am I not remembering this?
You probably never got a penalty, because I think I only got about 2 penalties.
Yeah,
That's
probably
a
so.
very good point in itself.
I mean, to me, it definitely felt a lot easier. From a striker's point of view, and particularly from a keeper's point of view as well. It wasn't a given, but it was. It certainly felt a little bit easier to eke out a result. I honestly, I think it was it's an improved system. I mean, it's miles better than the system that's implemented by FIFA, where I think you've got to push the analog stick forward, press the button, choose your direction, turn around, touch your toes, and everything else on top of it. You know, it's and then I think you might have to finish by sacrificing a goat before it puts it in the back of the net. But like with PES, it's getting back to the days of you pick your direction. You know, once you've got a feel for it, like, if you really want to, you can use that circular guide for if you're playing the AI, but if you're obviously playing against your mate, you're not going to do that.
You definitely don't want to do that, yeah.
But like, once you've got a feeling for where the reticle is going to be in relation to your stick, I think you'll see some like really good penalties, because I think Rob and Dave from PlayStation Access were there, and they were talking about penalties, and they said that on one of them, Rob was sort of able to get the feel on the stick for where the top corner was, and then just put so much power behind it that it just blasted straight in the top corner with no chance for the keeper.
Okay.
And it's getting back to like the PS2, PES 6 kind of penalties, where that was essentially what you did. You know, you chose your direction, you chose the power, and that was it. Like, it was great fun. I think you're going to see a lot of if you do go to penalty shootouts in your games, I think you're going to see a lot of tight ones, because it's going to be it brought back that feeling of genuinely winning a penalty shootout in real life as well, where you get really tense, and then just as the final one goes in, you sort of boo you, punch in the air and rubbing your mate's face in it.
Yeah, for sure. Like I said, I beat Dave in a penalty shootout when we were there, and I started off with a little Panenka penalty, a little lob down the middle, and that felt good. And then the mind games were on, and he basically was like, he felt like every penalty was going to be like that, and it definitely was still fun. It wasn't too hard to score, but you see, I never particularly felt like it was too hard to score in 2017, and maybe that's why I felt like it wasn't too different. But but still, yeah, very, very happy with it.
Cool. So this is the big one. Everyone sort of keeps on talking about this on social media. Shooting. Now, I've not got an issue with the shooting in 2018. I think it's good. My only sort of thing, I would like to see sort of more variation. But since me and Brian spoke about this on the last podcast, since then, Adam has come out and I think it was Daniel Henry told that basically they're adding more contextual animations to shooting. So that's obviously going to make a big difference. So yeah, generally I didn't have a problem with shooting. I think the new sort of ball physics helps with that. You sort of see a lot sort of more variation in that regard. I just feel that in terms of general shooting, I think it still needs a bit more sort of variation to it. So yeah, shooting, guys, that's a big one. Everyone likes talking about shooting and nets. Yeah, Ben, I'll start with you. How did you find the shooting generally?
Fine. I thought there was enough variation for the time that we were there for. I think, it didn't feel like there was any point where I thought, it would have been nice if he'd have taken an extra touch there and then put the ball in, or anything like that. I think the new animations that they have got in for, like I say, the said earlier on about like the contextual touches as the ball comes to you, that feels very dynamic, and I think with those touches combined with the shooting, it adds a huge amount more to the amount of stuff you can actually do with shots. Matt actually scored a peach of a goal that I don't think we were capturing at the time, because I think it was he was on one console, I was on the other, but we got the PS4 share footage, so we'll see if we can put that up somewhere. But basically, yeah, he was playing as Dortmund, and the ball came to Royce, and he must have been about 35 yards out, and he just hammered it, and it just flew into the top corner. And to be honest, that was something that I didn't see a huge amount of. That was one thing that I know a lot of people were worried about, was that you're going to get these wonder goals all the time and you'll be able to score from anywhere. But the number of times that I actually heard or saw people scoring excessive goals was minimal. I honestly don't think there were that many. And it was it felt really good. I think I know we've had some discussions privately, and I know there's sort of a what's the phrase? The phrase is, I think Steve Burns, formerly a video gamer, used the phrase of goal feel. So that sort of, well, that feeling of when you get a goal. That's definitely there in 2018. It's the particularly when you've got a lot of build-up play, like that feeling when you just manage to poke it in, or you just manage to round the last defender and slot it past the keeper in just the right times, feels so fucking good.
It did remind me of PES. I've done this with Brian on the podcast. I keep on saying PES 2, but I mean PS2 PES games. The days of then when you used to score and used to feel so amazing, I think that's definitely coming back with 2018 shooting. So Nico, sorry mate, your sort of thoughts and feelings on shooting generally?
Yeah, no, I'm pretty similar. I felt like I'd like to see more animations, different shooting animations, slightly more. I think FIFA do shooting animations really well, personally, and I'd like to see maybe not steal some FIFA ones, but just some new ones that are kind of similar to the ones we've got there. Having said that, I've still been finding every so often, when you're in the correct situation, I find the new shooting animation in PES 2017. I think there are some very, very contextual shooting animations around, and we probably, depending on if you put yourself in literally every single situation in a match, you may not see them. You may not see every single animation that comes in. So I'm confident, in what Adam's saying about more contextual animations will be in, which is great. I think PES have done a really good job over the last 3 years of building that animation database, so to speak. So, yeah, I was fine with it. I think kind of like you were saying, I don't really have an issue with it. Didn't stand out to me as something that I was absolutely blown away by. but still think it's really, really good in just as an overall. You know, they've got it general. What's the word I'm looking for? They have like a template for it, which is great.
Yeah.
Now they just need to add more animations and make it feel a little bit more fresh every time you take a shot, so it doesn't feel like you're doing the same thing.
Okay. Yep. Fair. That's a very fair point. So the next thing, sort of graphically, me personally, I thought it was like night and day compared to last year. Last year, I spoke about it loads of times. It had sort of washed out look during night matches, and the detail through gameplay cam wasn't there. This year, it just looks more vibrant. There's more detail. There's just more detail generally. And that's the same with player models. Player models, they look so much better this year. Like the likes of Neymar, he's got his skinny frame. Players like big centre-backs look like centre-backs this year rather than just similar sort of player models to midfielders from last year. So generally, graphically, let's start with that. Ben, how did you find it from a graphical standpoint?
I mean, from a graphical point and also from like a general presentation perspective, I thought it was really, really impressive. We played both on the PS4 Pro and on the PC, and both of them look really good. I think we'll probably have a little bit of more of a discussion on the PC version in a little bit. But basically, I think it looks. I can't really see if there are any criticisms of it this year. Like I would struggle to see where they'd come from. Maybe sort of in the gameplay cam, it could possibly look a little bit sharper with a little bit more detail to the player models. But I think when you're looking at it when you're in the middle of the game, you can still sort of immediately tell which player's which. You can still immediately sort of distinguish between everybody that's on the field. But it does look really good. There's no two ways about it. All the cutscenes running, solid 60 frames as well. And the detail on the up close player models is just insane.
It's ridiculous, right?
Yeah, like I know obviously there's a big comparison going around at the minute for Griezmann and between FIFA and PES, but that's the start of it. Like honestly, there's so many. Even when you get up close and you can just see like the beads of sweat dripping down people's faces, you just think that's mental.
I've even seen some people on social media say that PES 2017 and 2018 player faces look the same, but they are nothing alike.
No, absolutely not.
Sorry, mate.
Trolls.
When you was going to add something,
Absolute trolls.
But I think honestly, as I say, in terms of a presentation standpoint as well, there is a lot of work that's been done to include like contextual stats. So if you have a shot and it goes wide, you'll get a little bar that pops up on the left-hand side. Some people say, "Oh, that's just copying FIFA," but you'll get a bar that pops up just to say, Messi's had 2 shots today. 2 of them have been on target, compared to Coutinho, who's had 1 shot and it hasn't been on target. You'll get those comparisons and stuff. And as well as that, you also have the game plan screen, which is now populated with photos instead of the generated faces. It is mostly the photos at the moment. There are some that are like the player models, but I was told at the I was told at the event that they're still working their way through a lot of the squads, so it will be pretty much right on there. So
Adam did say that all players will have their own proper photo. So because people were asking about like the sort of unlicensed teams as such. So
I'll be interested to know if you can add player photos if you were to create players.
That's a good point. Very good point. Interesting. So Nico, your sort of thoughts on sort of player models and graphics generally?
Yeah, I think you guys are spot on with it. I think they look fantastic. You could see the differences between players as you should be able to. The skinny ones, the larger players. Kits just flow beautifully on the players, which is great. The faces are unbelievable, absolutely unbelievable. I literally some of these faces are just, it's really hard to put into words. I thought 2017 was fantastic for faces. I really did.
Yeah.
And Konami's designers, they keep raising the bar. This is something I am happy to absolutely gush over because they keep bringing up the level, and FIFA can't keep up with it. They can't. They cannot keep up with this type of fidelity in these places, these players' faces and body types. Pitches look fantastic. The stadiums look incredible. Yeah, I was blown away graphically. I really did feel like that was somewhere that they can't really do any wrong at the moment. Everything they do seems to just look brilliant.
Yeah, totally agree. Couldn't put it better myself. I think they've done wonders graphically. I hated playing night games in 2017. It just didn't look right, the lighting. But this year, after playing sort of night games, when we played it, it looked amazing. And graphically, from a day perspective, it looked vibrant. Had the great lighting and details. So yeah, really happy with that.
Just,
so the next thing.
Oh, sorry, I was going to say just one other thing. Have you seen the short video that's going around of Griezmann's hair's movement? So as he's running along, like the hair just flowing. That's incredible. Like
I think Konami do hair brilliantly.
And apparently they do that using motion blur. That's how they implement the sort of hair movement, which is interesting because obviously I think in FIFA they actually generally do sort of animate the hair, but PES have used a system using motion blur and it looks amazing. I think it looks really, really good. Really, the way it looks, you'd never think it was just motion blur, but apparently it is. So interesting. So let's talk about the PC version. A lot of people have wanted it for ages. The PC version seems to be on par with or better than the sort of PS4 Pro version. People are asking about specs. We don't know the full specs yet. They haven't released that. So Ben, you played the PC version. How did it look and run sort of compared to say the PS4 Pro version? Was it a massive step up or was it slightly or?
Right. So the thing that I wanted to say right off the bat with the PC version was that they've obviously put a lot of work into it. Like it does look really good. Like you've got, I'd probably almost say there's an enhanced level of detail on a lot of the things. Like you can see things on the PC version that you're not necessarily going to pick up on the console version, but a lot of those are going to be relatively minor things. It's not going to be like, oh wow, that's made a massive difference to the gameplay. It doesn't.
Yeah.
It kind of it's subtle changes. But it's almost like you've got essentially high and very high settings on a PC. That's what you can do and what you can get away with. They have said that I think the PC the requirements are potentially going to be very demanding, but they want to push the game forward. So I would probably expect somewhere in the region of maybe having possibly like a 900 series graphics card.
Okay.
Or something along those lines, with a Core i5 possibly as a minimum thing. That's not me like saying this is what it definitely is. That's me just spitballing and throwing ideas out. But So I mean, I think the thing for me was that I noticed this at the time, and I've spoken to Asim about it since, and I think it was set to 1080p, even though we were running on 4K screens.
Okay.
So the wording that the stuff that I've had back is essentially that it does run at 4K. It may have been an error in the setup on the day, but running at 1080p, it did look amazing. So there is a video up on YouTube at the moment, or there's 2 videos from the PC and there's a couple of videos from the PS4 Pro. So you guys can make the choice there. But the other thing that we initially felt when we got to sit down with the PC version, as soon as we started playing, we thought, oh, this feels a little bit different again. But the more I think about it, and this is going to sound like such a weird thing to say, but the more I think about it, it's because I wasn't used to playing PES with an Xbox One controller. Like on the PS4 controller.
That makes sense.
Like on the DualShock 4, you've got I really prefer the shoulder buttons on the DualShock 4. like R1 and L1. They feel like buttons, whereas the Xbox One, you've got to sort of adjust your hand around it if you want to hold them and use that as a sprint button. So it felt really strange. And I think one of the videos that we've put up, it definitely felt a little bit like you could get away with that, like fast-passing ping-pong style football, regardless of who you were playing as. And I don't know... I honestly don't know whether that was just me with, you know, having this like placebo effect of going, oh, it's on a different machine, it must be different, or whether I'd sort of gotten used to it. Because then going back,
absolutely,
like going back to the PS4 version, I thought, oh, maybe, you know, okay, maybe it is as I was expecting it to be. So, yeah, I mean, it was a little bit. I'm not going to lie, it was a little bit disappointing to not have it in 4K, but ultimately, you know, I fully accept what they've told me, and they've said, you know, right, okay, it will run at 4K. It does run at 4K. We have it running at 4K in the office, and like the PCs themselves were running at 4K. It was just when the demo launched, it switched over to 1080p, because we tried to record using our capture gear, which wouldn't have it at first, and then we also used the NVIDIA Shadow Play to get the footage, and even recording that in the native resolution, it came out at 1080p. So that was, like I say, at the time, it was one of those things I was like, oh shit, you know, how's that going to go down? But having spoken to them afterwards and said, you know, I don't know what was happening here, I've been reassured, like, everything will run at 4K, everything does run at 4K, and it will look as good as it does, if not better, on the PS4 Pro. So,
okay.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the talk before going in that we had was obviously around the PC version. You know, we said, right, we need to get some footage of this. We need to play quite a lot of it, and I think. Yeah, it's going to be. It's been a long time coming, and I think the PC crowd will enjoy it. The only thing is, and I'm saying this from a place of love because I've said this before and I've been slated for it. I don't really know how I've been slated for this, but if you play PES on the PC, buy it. Like, don't pirate it. This year, with all of the work that's been put in and all of the bitching and all of the moaning that everyone's had for so long, saying, oh, we need to have a full version on the PC. It's like, right, they've given you a full version, now go out and fucking buy it. Don't
totally agree.
Like, you don't pirate the game. I don't.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It feels weird that you have to say that.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah. I honestly don't know how that's a controversial statement. It's like, don't steal shit. You know, that's. But apparently you do. So yeah, I think honestly the game it plays really well on the PC. It looks really nice as well, and I think the community are going to enjoy what they get, particularly if they decide to, you know, open it up for mod support and everything else. Because well, I'm sure there will be, because there always is. But you know, that I think if you get to a point where, like, obviously the PS4 version has got limited slots for kits as it did last year. I don't know if I'm not sure if they're going to open it up to more kits this year.
Well, that's still to be found out. They've not really talked about edit mode, so we'll see going forward.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we've not seen edit mode, but I sort of did pose the question. They said, well, you know, we've not decided, or we've not, you know, nothing's been finalised yet. So, but obviously with the PC, you know, you can more than likely just have a folder somewhere on your machine that just says, right, PES kits, and then just dump literally every kit in the world onto there. So if you want to have, you know, a team from the National League, you know, National League North, and have their reserve team kit, you can have that there. You know, it's not going to be limited to how many slots you've got available to you. So if you've got a PC that will be able to run it, and as I say, the specs will be released soonish, I'd imagine. I can't imagine you're going to have any problems with it.
Yeah, so some of the in the past, some of the sort of mod support on PC has been insane, absolutely insane, and I sort of don't expect anything less this year. And yeah, regarding sort of people buying the PC version who want the PC version, I sort of wrote something about it on WNB that basically said, yeah, now you've got it, support it, because it's. If you want the sort of game to improve on PC, you've got to support it. So, and what you said was absolutely spot on. So,
well, I think if Konami see high pirate rates, you know, and low sales, they weren't investing in it again.
Yeah.
That's the whole reason why they hadn't been investing in it recently. The game was being pirated a lot, and they weren't getting the sales that they wanted.
Yeah.
And so they decided to focus on consoles. So, yeah.
I mean, the phrase "put your money where your mouth is" could not be any more apt this year.
100%.
I think Konami have done that. As much shit as Konami get for a lot of things, I think they've done right by the PES community this year. And I think, honestly, if they turn around and get the game pirated again, I honestly just think that what will probably happen from now on is what FIFA do with the legacy versions on the PC. What FIFA do with the legacy versions on old consoles, and just have the same game with new kits and new rosters. I can't see any reason, if they do have a big, as big a piracy problem this year, I would be absolutely, I'd support them 100%, and they're well within their rights to say, well, that's it. We've made all these changes. We've listened to everybody, and nobody's listened to us. So yeah, it's on. If you're a PC player, it's on your head at this point. So you need to go and buy the game.
Yeah, totally. And if you haven't checked out the PC gameplay we've got, check out on the YouTube channel, because we have a couple of games on there, and it does look very good. And obviously that's going to look even better by the time the game is out. So I think we've covered most things, to be honest. I'm just trying to think if there's anything. Obviously, we can't go into every single intricate detail. But, so I'm going to put you guys on the spot now. Are you ready?
Ready.
So your top 3 things from what you've played that you loved in PES 2018. It could be anything from shooting, from movement, from passing, graphically. It could be anything. So, who should I start with? Who am I going to put on the spot? I'll go with Ben. Go on, then, Ben. You tell me.
I think, honestly, the first one is obviously the graphical upgrades in terms of the subtleties of it. I mean, a lot of people say, "Oh, it just looks like 2017," but when you spend more than 30 seconds with it, you'll realise how different it actually looks, and how much better it looks. I'm not turning around and saying that it's difference between console generations or anything like that, because it's not. Don't get me wrong, but it genuinely does look better than last year's game.
Okay.
The second thing would probably just be the pace of the game. I think they've managed to get it to a point now where they've slowed it down enough, but they haven't made it like wading through treacle. They've put enough stuff in there so that if you know what you're going to be doing, and if you know how to play football, and you can sort out your build-up play in just the right way, and then just at the exact moment that you need to, you can play that killer ball. And I think finally, the free kick system is looking better.
I swear you just stole all 3 of my games.
Get thinking, Nico.
The only thing that we said coming out of it, that Matt sort of said to me, was that the one thing that he wishes was that you could have the either have like the other angle on the corner kicks as well. So you've got your two angles, like your lower angle and your raised angle on the corners. But he said, if we could also get like the raised angle on the the 2 angles on the free kicks, but if you have the raised angle on the corner, you'll be able to get a bit more of a better overview as to what's going on in the box. Either that, or have the ability to bring the line back, so the trajectory line, sort of, so you can get a better idea of whereabouts it's going to be going.
That's on corners, not free kicks, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
On corners. Free kicks, we all thought absolutely fine.
Okay.
So yeah, I think there was one other thing. The 3v3. We didn't get a chance to talk about that.
Oh yes, let's talk about. Let's get Nico's top 3 things first, and then we're going to 3v3. So go on then, Nico. Hit us with your top 3 things.
I'm gonna keep one, which is the pace and the weight of the game, because I feel like that's the biggest difference between 2017 and 2018. That's what makes it feel so different. So I feel like they really have got the pace and the general weight of the players. They've got that spot on. So that for me was my favourite thing coming out of it. If I'm going to pick two things aside from what Ben has talked about...
No. Dude, if they're the same as Ben, then they're the same as Ben. It's your personal...
I think the graphics are absolutely, like I said, that's stunning. The stadiums, the players, the player models, everything is fantastic. So graphics is definitely going to be there. And then the third thing, I'll go for the auto sort of shielding. The player's body shielding the ball, and the contextual nature of it really does lend itself to just a natural, free-flowing game.
Yeah, good shouts. Very, very good shouts. Actually, before we do move on to the 3v3 stuff, what's the one thing that you would like to see improved from what you played? I will start with Ben on that one again.
I'm not too sure, to be honest. I think the...
You said about the corners.
Yeah, I mean that was from Matt. I think that's probably the best one that I can think of straight away.
Okay.
It's not like I was always able to just put a ball in and score from a corner every time, but it did feel a lot more difficult to do that this time round. And like I said earlier, I think the thing for me was that I found myself a lot of the time going for the second ball rather than attacking the corner. But yeah.
Okay. Yep, fair enough. And Nico, one thing you would like to see improved from what you played?
This is pretty easy for me, and to be honest, it's the same thing I've sort of been saying about 2017 as well. The general atmosphere of matches don't really match, number one, the occasion, or just generally contextually what's happening in the game. Like, I want to know if I score a last-minute winner, that the crowd are going to go absolutely apeshit, or if you're the away team, completely deadly silent. One of the two. And I feel like at the moment, it kind of just feels the same when you score. I do think it sounds generally a bit quieter when you're away, but, like cup finals, I want it to be crazy. And I want the celebrations to kind of reflect that as well. I just feel like there's a massive lack of atmosphere in PES as a whole, which is, something I've felt for quite some time. And it didn't feel like currently there was any changes in 2018 to that.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I've always had an issue, since I can remember, the sort of audio in PES. Obviously, we all have issues with commentary and whatnot, but the general sort of crowd chants, and it just doesn't compare to FIFA. FIFA obviously have got a bigger team; they've got a team dedicated to that sort of thing. But when you compare the two, FIFA is like night and day in front of PES in terms of sort of audio chants from the crowd. It just, like you said, sort of Nico, it sounds flat. It doesn't sort of replicate how it is in a football match, because obviously football matches are up and downs with the sort of sound waves and that. So I totally understand where you're coming from with that one. So let's move on to 3v3, Ben. Me and Nico didn't have a chance to check this out. How was it generally? Did you? It was you and Matt, and who else played with you? Was it just
So what we did, the 3v3 option is there on the main menu, and you can actually play it with AI partners.
Oh, okay.
So it was weird. I don't really know how to describe it, because obviously, if you play a normal versus match with 6 players, you can choose your sides and you'll be able to get that. But with the co-op game, it kind of gives you a rating at the bottom. So if you if you make a decent pass, it'll bump your rating up a little bit, similar to
the Journey.
I was gonna say similar to the Journey, but instead of you choosing a player, like obviously you'll switch between the team as you normally would do. But the way that you do it is like it rates you as a player that's playing the game, rather than like a player on the pitch. So you'll be able to do, I don't know, play a really flowing move with all of your team, and then you'll all get the praise sort of cast on all of you at the end. So there is a video up on YouTube by the time again this goes live, which kind of gives you a better idea. It was a weird thing to adjust to though, because obviously playing with 2 AI characters as well. Like a lot of the time, they would get the ball and then move it forward themselves. Whereas I'm used to, if you're used to playing it on your own, you think, oh shit, what's going on here? There's no. It's a strange thing to adjust to, but it's good. It's fun. I'm glad it's back.
Yeah.
And the other thing that I really can't wait to see at this moment is random selection mode, but. That's something which we'll hopefully find out a bit more later on. But overall, I think the 3v3 will be good fun if you've had a few beers in you, and if they get the online sorted as well, that'll be a great laugh.
Yeah, it's one of them that I can imagine if you're playing with like two other sort of decent PES players, it could be a great lot of fun.
Yes.
Obviously, working as a team would be amazing, and to be fair, it'd actually be a funny game to play when you're drinking, like you said, because it just the sort of some of the moments you will see sort of throughout, it would be hilarious. Sort of being pulled all over the place and stuff like that. So, Nico, you generally looking forward to this mode, or?
Yeah, I generally play a lot of PES by myself, but there's been a couple of occasions recently where I've been at friends, we've had FIFA on, and FIFA actually only allows you to use 4 people at the moment.
Okay.
Which I assume probably PES is the same because they've introduced this 3v3. So, but I remember our shock at it, like, because you used to be able to do it back in the day. You used to be able to have like 3v3, 4v4, as many controllers as the PlayStation allow you to connect. You could add in, and the fact it's only 2v2 at the moment is a bit odd to me. But so this is a good excuse to get PES back in the PlayStation with my mates around and get FIFA out, and get them playing some 3v3. So I'm looking forward to trying it in a social situation. Can't see myself using it with the AI at all. It feels like a pointless thing to do, to be honest with you. So but I'm looking forward to using it in more social environments.
Okay, cool. So before we get on to sort of the Twitter questions, so general thoughts on what you played. Ben, I'll start with you. Just your general sort of feelings on the sort of small chunk of gameplay you played.
Just bring on September. I'm excited. It's I went through a phase where I didn't really care about PES all that much, but slowly, like, my love for football's come back, and also I found that kind of coinciding with a love for PES as well. Like, I'm really excited to get my hands on it again. And the good thing is, obviously we've spoken about a lot of stuff today. The good thing that we were hearing was that the dev team are pretty set on the way that the game feels. They're not. Okay. They aren't planning on making a huge amount of changes to the way that the game feels and the way that the game plays. It's just going to be mainly cosmetic tweaks and things like that. And to be honest, a lot of the guys from the community were there, and when that was, when that news was filtering around, everyone was genuinely quite excited because they all just went, "Oh, yeah, this feels really good. Don't change it." That's. And I think that's essentially what they're going to do.
Yeah. Good. Nice. Nico, your sort of thoughts?
Yeah, very similar. Game felt great. To be honest with you, I feel like I would be happy enough if they didn't change it at all. I'd like to see more animations, and I'd like to see just a general polish on it. But generally, I was very, very happy. I'm very happy with how it felt overall and how it played.
Yep. That's pretty much how I feel. I sort of have my issues with last year's game. This year's feels like they've sort of tweaked everything that I wanted them to. It feels freer. There's a lot more sort of variety in how the game sort of pans out, and just generally it just feels like a game I want to play a lot of. And obviously with more sort of animations being added and various other stuff, and we've still got a lot to be announced regarding the game, like Master League and online stuff and licenses and new partners, etc. It's exciting times. So from what I played as well, just loved it. So let's move on to the Twitter questions, and this is where I'm going to butcher names again. I actually went, instead of going for their usernames, I actually went for their sort of main names, because some of the usernames were like insane and it was like literally impossible to pronounce. So a lot of these questions as well, we really can't answer, but I thought I would ask them just to be sort of sincere as such. So the first one is from Alexandra Serra. He says, "Hi WMB, do you guys feel that there is a lack of tackles and interception animations?" And does it maintain the robotic perception? I personally don't think it does. I didn't really see any sort of robotic sort of stuff in there, if you will. There's a few. Me and Brian spoke about this. There's a few still animations from last year, but it doesn't spoil the game. Regarding interception animations, I thought some of them were fantastic from what I see. It seems like they've added a lot in there regarding the sort of defensive side of it. So, yeah, that's my personal sort of take on it, guys. What do you feel, Ben?
I don't know. I think I didn't. It wasn't something that bothered me. I'll say that much. I think overall, I think the whole thing was it felt a lot more natural than it did before. Like if the ball comes towards you, like it's not going to snap to your feet like it has done previously. You've got to time things pretty much perfectly. Like if you don't, it will ping off you or anything like that. So yeah, I didn't feel like it was a problem. I thought it was definitely more natural than it has been before.
Okay, Nico, are you on the sort of same wavelength as us in that regard?
I suppose it's just something I never really thought about, which I think is always a good thing in games. If you're not having to think about it, it means generally isn't very bad. So yeah, I don't really have too much more to add on that.
Okay, let's move on to the next one. So Nick_P, I can't personally answer this one because I only played like 2 games against the AI, but you guys might. Has there been any increase in penalties given against the AI? Also, are there any injuries? Well, injuries, they haven't even added that into the game yet. So yeah, did you guys have any penalties given against the AI when you played them?
I think
No.
I think it's a slightly silly question because for the AI, I mean, is he saying against us getting penalties or the AI getting penalties?
He's basically saying that the AI giving you a penalty. Yeah,
right.
That's
yeah. I didn't have any that the AI gave away against me, but I feel like I wouldn't want. It just wouldn't make sense for the AI to sort of be too rash in the box in every game.
Yep, that's totally fair. And Ben, did you see any of that happening when you played the AI? Or?
No, I mean I didn't have any penalties given against me. To be honest, I didn't really get that many free kicks given against me. I think it was. I don't know. I think it's fairly accurate in that you're not going to see a penalty every game.
Yeah.
To be honest, I think we played what. We played a few games. I think I don't think there would be that many penalties given in a weekend if there were that many games. So
yeah, totally agree with that. So Krian asks, are there more fouls? Well, I can say that when I played the AI there, I think I was Dortmund and they were Atletico Madrid. I had a few free kicks.
Yeah, he did.
So yeah, there's definitely more sort of fouling going on. Whether or not it's as much as it should be in a game, because obviously fouls in games do happen quite a lot. But yeah, there's definitely a lot more happening from what I see. Guys, anything to add to that? Or
no,
I think generally yes, spot on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Same.
Cool. We've sort of mentioned this one, so we probably don't really need to add much to it. But Ads86 says, what are your thoughts on crowd involvement, which we've sort of explained? Is there more of an atmosphere compared to 2017? Does it immerse you? It doesn't immerse you, and it's maybe slightly better than last year, but like we said earlier, it still needs a big improvement. Next one is from Brino Azevedo. Jesus, I'm butchering these probably, but has the manual pass targeting system improved in any way? Well, I don't really use it, but when I did, it looks the same as last year. Anyone want to add to that?
What was that? Sorry.
The manual pass targeting system.
Oh,
has it improved? To me, it didn't, but
yeah, it was much the same for me.
Yep, pretty much.
Yeah,
Nico,
I used it a little bit. I'm not generally a manual passer myself, but I did want to check it out just because it is quite an important thing, and it did really feel the same.
Yeah. pretty much. And the last one we definitely can't answer, but we'll ask it anyway. Is from Rajon Hogue. Oh, sorry if I butchered that, but that'll do. Has the transfer system in Master League been fixed? Well, Master League news will be sort of Gamescom time, so we don't know anything about Master League yet. And that is all the questions we got. I think we answered a lot of them in the last podcast, so that's probably why we haven't got any more. But a lot of them, they were sort of duplicates of what we already asked, so that's the reason why. So, that is it. So, PES 2018, guys, you really enjoyed it by the sounds of it.
Absolutely.
It's shaping up to be amazing. And future's definitely bright. And that is us for episode 147. Nico, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Ward, same to you.
Absolutely, no problem.
And if you could follow us on social media, facebook.com/WNB blog and twitter.com/WEN blog. This is a weird random fact, by the way. Did you know that someone has twitter.com/WNB and they have posted 35 tweets in 7 years?
Wow.
So,
wow.
Yeah.
That's like like NGB as well. Somebody has NGB and they haven't posted anything in about 9 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that is a random thing just at the end there. But thanks for joining us, guys, and we will see you in the next podcast.